What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Season Gaming Bitcast, episode 348. It is another lovely Sunday here, filled with games to talk about. And we are back with a first-time guest this week as well. So I am joined by the lawman, as you know him, of course, and my regular compatriot here, Mr. Hoaglaw. How we doing, my friend?
I'm doing well. I'm excited to talk games, as I usually am here on the Bitcast.
I'm trying to get the lawman to stick. I'm not doing a very good job at it.
I might be fighting you tooth and nail behind the scenes. You know?
Fair enough. And Travis, as he mentioned last week, is traveling on assignment again, which I'm sure he'll be able to talk about soon. But I thought it was,
I love it.
Yeah, I know, some type of assignment that we're not sure of. But it allowed us to good timing because we have some reviews to discuss this week and some new games. And so one of our newest contributors at Season Gaming is our good friend here, Luis. Good morning, my friend.
Hello, Ains, hello, Hoag. I'm a big fan of the show. I'm really glad to be here today. And it's too bad Travis couldn't join us today because I wanted to congratulate him on his Asgard's Wrath 2 review, right, for IGN that, he did a while back. I'm also a VR enthusiast, so, I just wanted to talk with him a little bit about that. But, you guys are here. I know you both are legends. You both fostered a great community. So, legends. It's nice to be
here. Maybe Hoag, not me. But no, great to have you on. I think it's gonna be a good time. So love bringing people on for the first time. And of course, with that in mind, we will get to some questions in a moment here for you to let people get to know you a little bit more. But of course, for our audience, good morning, good afternoon. Today we're going to be talking about, we can finally talk about Wuchang, Fallen Feathers, which both Luis and I have been playing for a couple weeks now that we couldn't talk about, obviously. So we'll talk about that review and some of the details of it. Luis also reviewed Wheel World, which we're going to talk about. That goes up formally tomorrow. I know Travis's review of Progress of Wildgate is up on IGN. We'll check in on Donkey Kong, of course. We got to have a banana check, so we'll get there. And then some of the bigger topics. Banana check, yeah. And then we've got, PlayStation job listing, which spread like wildfire this week. We're going to touch on that and kind of circle back on our console exclusivity conversation we had a couple weeks ago. We got Battlefield 6 debuting and a few other things to touch in on as well. So before we get there, though, and we get to our normal stuff of Super Chats, Tides, Picks, and other things, let's talk to Luis a little bit. So I met you actually through Blue Sky, funny enough. I think late last year, early this year. I can't remember the exact timing.
Yeah, I think it was last year. Of course, I was aware of Season Gaming as an outlet, right? Last year, I was on gaming Twitter, the gaming Twitter community for about 4 years before, some people did the migration last year. But then in September, I think we had talked about, I believe, since June of 2024 on Discord, to try to collaborate, try to write for you guys. And then, the opportunity just finally came by with I think it was Caravan Sandwich and then Neva, right. A beautiful game, Neva. Those were the first two reviews that I made for the sites. And since then, I think people started at least in the Season Gaming community started seeing me as like the sort of indie reviewer, which I am very proud to take that.
Yeah, you're a machine, man, when it comes to reviews. So you love the indie games, which is awesome. It's always good to put more coverage and spotlight on indies. And it's been fantastic having you in the community. So it's great to see kind of your growth. Obviously, you're building your own community as well. And that's what we love to support. So obviously, you can find Luis's social in our description, and we'll share everything out as well. But tell us a little bit about your gaming background. So I got to put you on the spot a little bit. So where did you start? So I don't know your exact age, but this will kind of tell us. What was the first game you played or first system you owned?
Yeah, my first console was the GameCube. No, I'm joking. My first console was the Game Boy. That brick with the original batteries. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm turning 32 this August. So yeah, I suppose still young, depending on who you ask. But yeah,
lightly seasoned.
Yes.
But yeah, I started with the Game Boy. I was a huge Nintendo fanboy for many years, right? I did have a GameCube, and then I think I took the the leap with the PS3. I was young, I was not online, I was unaware of the reception that it had, the Ridge Racer thing and all of that. So I really love my PS3, and now I still have a PS5 and got the Switch 2 as well recently. So yeah, I've always been a fan of those consoles, Xbox as well, but never got into Halo or Gears of War. But you asked me my favorite game, did you?
Your first game that you remember playing?
First game, right? Pokemon Red, obviously.
Obviously. All right, fair enough. Pokemon Red. Wow, that now I even feel more dated, Hogue. Well, more seasoned. That's the word we'll use. Okay. And what's your favorite game of all time, or favorite series of all time? What do you really like?
Yeah, that was a really difficult question. So I don't know, as an indie reviewer, I'm supposed to say Journey, right? Because I think that's like the absolute classic. But I don't know. I think I'm also inclined to say Dragon Age Origins. I think I don't replay games often, but I think that back then it was one of those games that showed me the breadth and depth that video games can have. I think that's a good choice.
Yeah, awesome. Hogue always prefers Veilguard, but I tell him that Origins is the classic.
You're killing me, man.
I love Veilguard, but Origins is legendary. I mean, it's just
Origins is a fantastic pick.
Yes,
love it.
Yeah, yes, it is. Awesome. Well, it's great to have you on, man, and we'll obviously get into it here shortly. We've got a couple super chats to kick us off here, so let me get to those. All right, we've got, and sorry, I'm doing this myself today. Apocalypse Dead on Arrival. Oh boy, $2 super chat going to be Replay Crew. Good morning from Alaska. Good morning.
We're on a gaming podcast here, Ains. We don't know if that's dead or alive.
That's fine. Excuse me.
That's good.
Good morning. God, it is early in Alaska, isn't it? What would that be like? 5 a.m. maybe, depending, I guess, where I don't know Alaska's time zones, but it's got to be out there. So good morning. Thank you.
This is a great question to really highlight their lack of geography. Is Alaska Pacific time, or is it another bonus time zone?
Yeah, like Hawaii, right? Like Hawaii's further out. So I honestly don't know. Someone tell us. Someone can look it up while I'm talking here. But thank you for the super chat, and appreciate you checking in, replay crew or not. Googleman kicks us off as always. Jeez, €10 super chat. Mobland season 1, the UK's answer to The Sopranos. Some say it's pretty good. Tulsa King next. AC Shadows is getting New Game Plus in 2 days. Yay, I guess.
Yep,
you never let us down.
That game needed. Game needed some more playtime. So Shadows is getting New Game Plus. They're getting an expansion in September.
They are.
All in the face of Ubisoft not having the strong financials that I know that they were hoping for. So
yeah,
it's an interesting time to be over there. I still like Assassin's Creed Shadows, but it's clear that it did not move the needle for the company. And so it will be interesting to see how they go forward from there. I know that I have said in this space and others that Star Wars Outlaws was actually my game of the year last year. There was some leaks, some news that came out that suggested that they scuttled the sequel project. I don't blame them at all for the sales that they've shown on that game, but it still makes me sad on the inside that the market doesn't help me out with games that I love, or it rarely helps me out.
Yeah, it does have a habit of kind of crushing the games you love in that spirit, although it does to me too. So maybe we're just more unique in that vein. But yeah, I did see that they said Shadows, and we talked about this at launch, but regardless of how it was going to sell, it wasn't going to change the needle for Ubisoft, right? And they announced 5 million players this week, which at first my mind went 5 million sales is really strong, but then I always forget about Ubisoft Plus, so I don't know what that looks like in terms of sales to compare to subscription, but it's still a very strong showing.
Yeah, no, it's a good sales game. It is.
Yeah, no doubt.
It's just not save the company type sales game.
No, and it never was going to be, right? Like, yeah. So it's going to be interesting to see where Ubisoft goes. I know we've talked a lot about that, but the next year is going to be really interesting to see. But yes, it is getting expansion in September. It's preceding Ghost of Yotei releasing, so we'll see what that looks like.
I'm still banking on Anno to save Ubisoft, so join me, my fellow Roman governors. in November and play Anno. Me and the dozens of us welcome you.
I was just gonna say, if Shadows wasn't saving Ubisoft, I'm not sure you should bank on Anno there, my friend. That's yeah.
Pax Romana. That's where the action's gonna be.
Sure. And Mr. Game Positive, Eric with the 279 Canadian. Luis in the house. So one of our long-term SG guys welcoming you to the show, my friend.
Too kind. Thank you. Yeah, I'm excited to be here. I love talking video games any time of the day.
Yeah, man. Why not, right? Eric, thank you for the super chat. That's the Travis overlay. His name's not Travis, last I checked. All right. So we got super chats. So we got Tide's picks this week. Tide left Travis in the picks this week, so you'll have to deal with looking at his mug, even though he's not here. But what do we got this week, Tide? Let's see. We going kind of like 80s style advertising, Hogue? What do we think here?
Yeah, I think it's
PRT?
like 80s music.
Yeah, that's probably
music
a
video
good vibe.
kind of vibe. I look fantastic. I don't know what you're talking about.
You always look fantastic. We've talked about this. Even when you're like a mushroom, you somehow still look fantastic. Like the AI just loves you. But honestly, I think we all look pretty good here. Travis definitely looks like the 80s corporate geek, if you will,
and he does today.
I think is appropriate. Yeah. I look like I'm just out on a bike. Of course, I've got headphones on. You can't go without them. But that does look shockingly like me, honestly. So it's pretty good.
I love it. I'm going to save this one. You'll see this popping up as a profile pic at some point.
Thank you, as always, Todd. Appreciate you. All right. Wait, now Alex is coming in with a super chat. Mr. Alejandro Segovia, one refraining my tongue this week. Hi, Luis. So we'll get into it, but Alex is, for whatever reason, deciding to rant about not liking Wuchang on our Discord. So Luis and I can't really figure out why. It's a very, very good game. We'll get into it, of course, but I honestly think it just may be a timing thing, but we'll talk about it. Thank you, Alex. All right. Let's see. Okay, why don't we get into it then? Actually, why don't we just go ahead and kick off the Wuchang then, Luis? So we got this pretty early, actually. They sent codes out a couple weeks ago, so we had ample time with it. It's a pretty large game. I think you said about 35-ish hours for your review, somewhere in that ballpark.
I ended up playing it for about 45 hours, but okay. I gotta say that 5 of those hours was just me grinding, so probably better players could finish it in less.
Yeah, I think that's fair, though. There are some tough moments in this game, especially as it goes on. We talked earlier, maybe about 15 hours in, and I was like, I'm beating most of the bosses on first try. That has changed. So yesterday I was banging my head against the wall on one of the bosses. I finally beat her late yesterday afternoon, but that took me quite a few tries, especially for me. I'm usually pretty sharp at these things. So it definitely...
Harder than the Yeti?
It's harder than the Yeti, yes. But it definitely ramps up. That said, to Alex's super chat, I don't know about you, Luis, but when we first talked about it, I was kind of middling on this game. I'm like, yeah, it feels okay. And, it's kind of been there, done that. But I felt that really expanded maybe 5 to 10 hours in. I know people hate hearing that, but I would definitely say once you get over those first couple levels, it really broadens out, gets more beautiful, becomes more challenging. There's more build variety. The skills expand. Just becomes a much, much better game. And at this point, I'm 33 hours in or something. I'm really, really liking it.
Yeah, you can definitely see the variety in builds. Something that I love now that the game is actually out in people's hands is see how they beat certain bosses, see how much they have struggled with certain bosses, and how do they do it, right? There's a boss, I believe it's like the 6th main boss that I told you reminded me of Genichiro, right, from Sekiro, that I just beat her by, learning the movesets. The game rewards your perfect dodge, which is great. It makes you invulnerable, and that's how we did it, right? Just learning, knowing exactly when to react. But then I saw some other people that found a way to cheese them with magic and with certain abilities that I myself did not think of using. But that speaks volumes about, you know, the game's richness and depth. That if you're really, because the skill trees are quite sprawling, like they're quite big, right? Because
Yes.
you open a skill tree line, and then it just shows like about 5 orbs in, and then, like, you know, you finish that line, and then it opens up again and again. Like, they're quite large. So I'm glad that people have taken the time to, you know, choose the weapon of their liking and engage with this ability called the Skyboard Might, which is sort of like like the magic point that you earn through doing the perfect dodge. So I think that there's depth to the game that I think it would be unfair to call it like just straight up formulaic, because it does some things on its own, like that makes it at least stand out for me. Other than, and I wanted to mention this, you know, I've played, you know, a bunch of games. I know we saw a comment, right, that quote unquote the gold standard Neo. You know, I've played Neo, I played Mortal Shell, Thymesia, The Surge, Lords of the Fallen, and you know, some of these games, they do feel janky, right? You feel like they're there, but they're not quite there yet, right? Like you needed more time in the kitchen or whatever. So I think that Wuchang, especially having 2 weeks to review it, I think that it was great. It didn't crash once, which is, I think that nowadays is a problem that we see in many video games,
Especially pre-release. Yeah.
So I think that, I mean, of course, you know, we also mentioned that on PC it is in fact having some issues, and people really need to tweak their experience. But you know, I played it on PlayStation, so I had a good time, and I see that people are also enjoying the challenge and not finding it unfair, because I think that there's a very fine line between, you know, too many traps, too many bosses, like too many difficulty spikes, and just a straight up good old challenge.
Yeah, I think that's fair. We joke there are some later levels, or I'd say maybe about middle of the game. There's a couple levels where the game purposely punishes you, which Hogue would just love. But there's like traps everywhere, and yeah, you really have to kind of work through some areas, which some people love, some people hate, and everything in between. I did want to comment on the PC performance, because if you didn't know, this game got really crushed on Steam from a review standpoint, and so many people complaining about bad performance. And then, Lean Z, which is the Chinese developer who made the game, had to come out and say they apologize. And, you know, obviously they're doing further updates. And it was just strange to me. Obviously, I know I have a newer, stronger PC. It's not top of the line, but it's close. But I had no issues whatsoever. Even when we first got the code weeks ago, the only thing they said is that if you're using an Xbox controller on PC, there's some like frame hitching that they were aware of, and they were fixing it. That was true. There was. I was still playing it without problem. There are no crashes, no big bugs. And then I want to say there were 3 updates last week leading up to release on the backside. And now it's just smooth as butter. So I'm not really sure. I was really surprised to see that, because I know I was talking to you that we weren't having any issues, be it PlayStation or PC. So it's kind of sad to hear that a lot of people are having issues. But yeah, so you gave it an 8 with the final review score, and which I completely agree with. And yeah, I would say that if you are, obviously, it is a Souls-like through and through, right? So if you don't like those games, you're not going to like Wuchang. If you do like those games, I would say give it some time. You know, put the time in. It does a lot of cool things. It does some unique things, to Luis's point. And I think it allows you to play in different styles in a way that some of these games don't. It definitely gives you that capability. So it's
with
quite
respect to the Chinese names that I can't remember, how does this compare to Wukong?
Different.
So yeah, it's quite different. Did you play Wukong, Luis?
I played the 2-hour demo that was on PlayStation, and I think that Wukong is more of a boss rush kind of game. You know, it's quite linear in that regard, and at least and I talked with Ains about this before, at least on Wuchang, the level design is very good. There's a lot of secrets. It really rewards you for going off the beaten path, and I think that's one of the reasons I think I put in like 30 hours that first week that I got the code, because you know, it's amazing, right? When a game does that, like you see something shiny right on the horizon, and then you go there, you have to defeat a boss, or you know, dodge a trap or whatever, and then be rewarded with you know, one more Estus flask base or whatever, right? It's good. It's I think it's different than Wukong in that
Okay.
It
regard.
is. It's markedly different. Yeah. So I got to played Wukong for about maybe 20 hours or so. I got to late in the third level, maybe fourth level. I don't remember. But to Luis's point, it is the Wukong level design does get better as the game goes, but it was a little disappointing to me. I'm someone who really likes to explore. I've talked about that a million times. I think Wukong has more kind of fantastical bosses. Some of the spectacles of those fights in Wukong are incredible, especially some of the later ones. So it does some of that better. But Wuchang is more of a, I would say, it sounds weird, but more of a complete experience. It's deeper. It's got more to it. It feels like more of a fully fleshed out thing. And I can't believe I forgot to mention my favorite part of Wuchang is the level design. So there are, in my beginner's guide I wrote for Wuchang, there are moments where you can go like 6 different directions, and every direction is a whole nother area. And so there's one mainline path, of course, and it when you beat bosses, it actually tells you whether it was a main story boss or a side boss, which I think is helpful. It's pretty cool. But there's just tons of exploration, and to Luis's point, it does reward you for that. So you will get additional points for your skill tree. You will get additional flask usage, spells, you know, other things that can really come into play. In fact, there's one boss that I haven't beat yet that I've gotten to, and I was like, I'm coming back to you because she was just kicking my ass. So, you know, I've gone and done a whole bunch of other things, which I think is really good.
Well, I asked because obviously I haven't played Wuchang.
wouldn't.
I think I downloaded it on the Game Pass, but I have not played it. Honestly, we joke about the Yeti, but I have enough of a backlog. If I feel like playing a Souls game, I can pop into Berserker. I can pop into Liza P. I don't need more of that content at present. God knows I could play Elden Ring. And so I do wonder if we aren't getting to a place. I know it's popular amongst the folks that are really into Souls games that we aren't getting into a saturation point. One, because marketing wise, these things all look the same to me on the outside, and I'm not the fan base, right? But you got to keep expanding, or you got to keep having general audience interest in your game type if you're going to get those people in. And I look at Wuchang and I say, yeah, that looks like a half dozen other things in my head, including Wukong, and some of that's the name. But I'm not that interested in popping in. And as a player that is not as skilled at fighting the dragon when I first see them in Elden Ring, like Travis or you, Ains, with everything that you talk about with Elden Ring, I have this backlog of just content because it takes me 10 times as long to get through one level. So as a person that thinks is pretty good at video games, but not maybe at your level, I think there's a big kind of backlog that exists in just content in this space because it takes so many of us so much longer to get through.
Yeah, I think that's perfectly fair. I think obviously we've talked quite a lot about Souls-likes here, and the many variations at this point of that kind of theme. And there's a lot of them. There really are. And I love them to death. I play almost all of them. But I would certainly not disagree, or I certainly agree is the easier way to say it, that it does feel very prevalent right now, almost too much so. So, I don't really have anything to say that. I would say of the ones I've played recently, Berserker. So I've had a lot of people come to me because they know I play all these games and ask me about Kazan as well. So I really like Kazan. I think it's a great game. It does the combat and the way you kind of, I forget the system in that game, what it's called, but the way that you have to kind of perfect parry and dodge and then, counter in that game is extremely well done and fluid. And some of those boss designs later in Kazan are just really, really well done. They really push you to your limit.
I'll take your word for that, but I like it so
far. It's really good. So I think Kazan and Wuchang are quite different, though. Yes, they're both Souls-likes at their core, but they do a lot of different things independent of one another. For instance, in Kazan, you have actual loot, right? So you have like gear building and set building, kind of like Neo does.
Yeah, it's a Neo design.
Right. Which I love, right? I'm a loot guy, so I love that aspect, and I like that better. And I honestly think overall the combat is probably more fluid in Kazan than Wuchang, even once you get later in Wuchang. That said, I like the level design better in Wuchang. You know, there's aspects of each that I like better. I think they're both good games. So if you think of like, remember we talked about Steel Rising, Hogue, the one a couple years ago that Travis reviewed and I played. Like I played all the way through that. That didn't impress me at all. That's a Souls-like, but it was like this isn't doing anything notable to interest me. So I think you get a lot of those in the space too, and I think there's a pretty clear line of separation between the really good ones and the kind of just middling ones, in my mind.
Yeah, I wanted to say, as a counterpoint, some, of my friends who know me by now know that I am a really big fan of Souls games in general. But if you can believe it, I started playing them in February of last year with Bloodborne. Like before 2024, I had not played any other difficult games like that, unless you count like Returnal or Metroid Dread, right? But uh, I started with Bloodborne, and then I couldn't get enough. Of course, I played Elden Ring, the DLC, Sekiro, all of the Team Ninja games, Neo, Wolong as well, which is another one. So I think that yes, there's plenty of those games, but there's ways to really recognize if you have something special. And I think that and when I say special, it's not like a game of the year kind of thing like Wuchang, but I think that it's better than average, I would say. Because you said Steel Rising, right? Spider is a studio that I really like, but it's true though, like they don't really get that feeling of excitement when you defeat a boss. You feel like you're just glad you're done with it, right? And I think that at least in Wuchang, maybe not as much as Kazan, because I had to drop Kazan. Now that it has an easier mode, I might go back to it. It broke me. I think Kazan's bosses, as you said correctly, really do push you to the limit. Yeah, it's fine if I struggle with one boss for 3 or 4 hours, but like to struggle with every boss for that amount of time it's too much. It's like, as Hogue said, we all have a limited amount of time to play games, right? So to spend every night just hitting the wall against the buses, you really need to be in the mood for it, is what I'm saying. And in Wuchang, at least, in Kazan there is a limit to the grinding that you can do. So you just really need to learn how to defeat the bosses. And in Wuchang, at least, they do this. They're quite lenient. They put these areas, these enemies that give a lot of red mercury, which is the item that you need to level up to grind. And in that sense, it makes it like it can make it easy. It can make it easier for yourself.
Yes,
Did you say red mercury?
That's
Warhawk's back.
Yeah,
let's get some Warhawk in here.
Oh,
people are interested in red mercury
Warhawk's
again.
A classic. Warhawk's a classic. I love that game. Remember when they tried to bring it back?
Yeah. I do. I did not hate the reinvention of Warhawk or Starhawk. Let's try some new stuff.
I don't think I played that reinvention.
I love Warhawk.
Remake or remaster, but the original, yeah, God, love that game. Yeah, and they have the whole madness thing. We don't have to go into every detail here, but the whole madness thing is basically like you go more mad the more you die. And so I think it's a kind of good balance for people who get stuck on a boss, because your madness goes up, and eventually like you do more damage, right? And the skill tree, you can lean into that. So there's things where it's like if you're above 50% madness or 90% madness, you do additional damage, you have additional skills, you get additional points. And so it kind of powers you up the more you die, if that makes sense. So it's kind of a good counterbalance to the traditional kind of bang your head against a wall type of thing. So, but yeah, I think it's a really good game. I'm really enjoying it. I haven't rolled credits on it yet, but I'm obviously very late in the game, and I'm still loving it. So check it out. You can check out Luis's review on the site, of course. And I did do a beginner's guide because we were both playing it. So he did the review, I did a beginner's guide, and there's a lot of unique terminology in that game and a lot of unique aspects. So I tried to write up all the things that are like most important to understand going in. So if you want to kind of get a leg up, there's no spoilers or anything. It's just more about talking about what you need to know. So All right. We've been talking about Wuchang for a while here, Hogue. Hit us with something. What you been playing?
Oh, well, I mean, I think we were going to do a Bonanza update. That was the big
Yes.
chunk of the first half of my week.
Okay, let's do it. Banana
Was
check-in time.
Yes, was rocking around with Donkey Kong, collecting bananas, getting to the last level, beating the boss, finishing the game, or at least rolling credits. And I know there's a lot going on online about the ending of this game and how crazy it is.
No spoilers, please.
I would like to tamp down on that excitement just a little bit. I did not find the ending of Bonanza to be as strong as Odyssey. Odyssey's pretty known for its weird climactic ending at this point in time. They try to do something similar with Donkey Kong Bonanza. Honestly, the biggest disappointment I have with this game, and I don't expect a lot from the storytelling of Nintendo. You really just have to set me up with a premise and continue with that throughout the game, and I'll be fine because I'm collecting bananas or moons or whatever. I understand that this is just kind of a skeleton framework to hang this gameplay on. But like they really, really dropped the ball on this game. Like nothing makes sense. Bosses are popping in and out. People are changing allegiances. They never answer any of the questions that you might have been intrigued by when you saw who was in this game or what it is that they're trying to do. And again, none of that really takes away from how fun this is to play and just run around and blow things up. But it does leave a hole where an even stronger game could have been. And so I finished this. I'm enjoying the post-game content at this point. If you've played Odyssey, you know what this looks like. You can get to the end credits with a certain amount of bananas, moons, stars, and then they give you another challenge after the credits to go get more of them because they spent the time, they put in the work. There's a lot of bananas in there, folks. Go get some bananas done. And I've been enjoying that. I think this game actually plays a lot better in kind of I'm romping around a world and I don't really care why. I'm just collecting bananas than it does in a kind of linear progression that they achieved somewhat with Odyssey, but I think really dropped the ball in this game. That said, I talked about Bonanza last week. I was pretty disappointed with it at that time. I had a session after we taped the Bitcast last week with my girls where we were told essentially to go collect resources on prior levels. And I thought, oh, this is a lame resource gate. But I went and did it, and I had so much more fun playing the game with this just kind of loose, I'm going to run through and chop up mountains and collect gold and do whatever I'm doing, that I really turned the corner on this being a very fun, kind of sandboxy, 30 seconds of fun loop type game, more than any directed platformer to try to get to the end. Much more Mario 64 than Mario Odyssey. The conceits of the game of destroying things and finding things underground and hidden secrets still are fun, however many hours I've played it now. So they really nailed that. They really nailed kind of the challenges, the different things you have to do to get bananas. And so I want to give them full credit for making a fun video game. But by trying to affix even the skeleton outline of the narrative that they did to keep you intrigued throughout, I think they just really failed at that. So I wanted to say my 2 cents on that. I don't think anybody's really going to care so much about the failure in storytelling. It's almost a de facto expectation of Nintendo at this point. But if you're going to spend time on cutscenes and you're going to spend time on including characters and references, it would be better to do it well than to not do it.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Obviously, I'm continuing to love this game. I'll talk in a minute. But Luis, I know you were playing it too. You've posted a couple clips of smashing endlessly. So where are you sitting on this game right now?
Yeah, I have played it for less than 10 hours and I have barely made any progress. I'm not too proud of myself, but then again, like I am looking at Bonanza as just this game to just blow off steam, like after like it's an insane rotation to have Dead Stranding 2 and Donkey Kong Bonanza, right? One next to the other, right? This religious experience. Oh, well, I mean, I know Ains, you don't like it. You don't like Death Stranding 2, but I really liked it.
I haven't played it.
Have you tried Death Stranding 2, Ains?
No, I don't have an opinion on it. It's just I say it's not my type of game. Like I'm not interested in it.
All right, sorry. Yeah. But yeah, I really, really liked it, or have liked it so far. I'm in chapter 9, so it's great to have like this full on just gameplay mindless experience, which is just smashing everything for like clicking the button. I hope my Joy-Cons don't die, because I think I don't know how many times I've clicked the button that quickly, but it's fun. I did have a friend on Blue Sky Hope that also was very disappointed. I was quite taken aback, because in the first half of the game he was praising it as well, and then he said that like he was very aggressive about it. He was like, who at Nintendo thought it would be a good idea to have this ending, right? Like, and I haven't played it, so I'm just interested. And then you have people on the other spectrum who are like, this is the best ending ever. So I don't know, man. Video games, right?
It's the truth. It's the truth. No, it's definitely something. So enjoy getting there, Ains.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I just think that in some respects, what they have done here is kind of use elements of Donkey Kong that people like without explanation, almost as that kind of Ready Player One. Here are some references to get excited about and credits. And that irritates me at a high level.
Yeah, I obviously can't comment. So you asked me yesterday, Hogue, or you said your girls were asking where I was. So just this morning, actually, I got to sublayer 1000 or level 10, whatever you want to look at it.
Level 10.
I think I'm just right around 300 bananas. I think we said last week there's 777 bananas in the game. So
there are 777 banana entries. So if you look at those, there's actually some of those that are 3 bananas and some of those that are 5 bananas. So there's more bananas than that by number.
Okay. I was feeling short on bananas, so I'm glad you've said that.
You got plenty of bananas. Plenty.
But I'm continuing to love it. I like I like most things about it. I obviously agree that the story and kind of the characters with the Void Corp or whatever, I mean, I don't care at all. That doesn't interest me. I do think there's a missed opportunity in that vein, to your point, Hogue. If you're going to do that, at least do it well in some vein. So, where I'm going to go with this is Banjo-Kazooie did that well, right? It's not a story like you're going to, remember it for years to come.
That's what I mean by just hanging on a premise.
Yeah, like Gruntilda in Banjo was funny, right? It was an evil witch. There was humor associated with it. She had minions and characters, and you would get turned into other things. And at least it played into the theme of the game, and it became like funny, and you had memorable characters in that space. Story didn't really matter, but the characters were memorable. I don't care about these characters at all. They mean nothing to me. Not Donkey Kong, but the Void Court stuff. So I think that's kind of meaningless. I do sit with Luis in the sense of like, this is just a fun game for me. To your point, Death Stranding 2 and Donkey Kong, for me, it's been Wuchang and Donkey Kong. And it's like tough Souls, like smashing stuff in a Nintendo Donkey Kong game, the perfect kind of opposite ends of the spectrum. So I've just been bouncing back and forth. Yeah, I've been bouncing back and forth. I want to give them full
credit for that. They nail it. Is a game that sits on my desktop on my Switch 2. And if I'm sitting there thinking, I just want to have some fun for a few minutes, it is getting turned on because you're just going to smash some stuff. You're going to get that gold sound as much as you can take. You're going to find treasure chests in the ground, and you're going to collect bananas. You're going to have a good time with it. It's just not going to be like an intellectually good time. You're just going to have fun.
No. But yeah, I'm still loving it. So that's where I am. I will continue playing. We'll see where I'm at next week. We'll do another banana checkpoint. I don't know if I'll have beaten it by then, but I leave for England end of next week. So there's going to be a time period there where I really make no progress on any game. So we'll see.
Your Switch 2 travels.
I know. I'm actually excited. I'm going to take it with me and potentially play it a little bit. We'll see. I did get some grips for it and a case, so it's a little bit easier to use remotely.
Yeah, get a battery as well, because it doesn't last too long.
I haven't. Yeah, is the Switch 2 better than the Switch 1? I had a normal Switch 1, which was
it's worse. Yeah, no, it's much worse, especially when a demanding game like Bonanza, because you have the rumble and everything. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I don't take mine very far from the TV, as you know, but I do occasional battery checks, and it does appear to burn faster than the Switch.
Jeez. All right. Well, yeah. International flight. I should have a power cord. Hopefully, we'll see. Let's catch up on a couple super chats before we talk about some more games here. So we got Michael Sutherland coming in with a $5 super chat. Thunder last night, so stuck with my Pyrenees in the basement. Calms her. Yeah, that's fair. Put in an open $10 copy of Skull and Bones. Not bad at all. Hashtag Hogue was right. Oh, God.
You can't go wrong for $10.
My $10 copy is still sealed. Not a joke.
I can't make you open it, Ains, but you would have a good time if you did.
We got a few weeks without mentioning Skull and Bones, but here you go, Michael. You went and did it.
Well,
if you don't know,
that
Luis,
says Skull/Bones, but you know what? Whatever is getting you going in the morning, whether it's the skulls or the bones, I'm glad you're enjoying yourself.
So, Luis, it became a running joke when Skull and Bones came out because obviously leading up, the game took several years to release, the whole Quad A conversation, all the silly stuff around that game. And then it reviewed kind of middle of the road average, but Hogue just loved it. And so it became a running joke on the show for quite some time.
It's great. It continues to be great. It's better than it was last year.
Right. Well, I mean, Ains and I loved Concord, so I don't think I have anything to say.
Yeah, everyone, video games, as you said earlier, right? Like, yeah, sure, it's true. Bring Concord back. Come on. Thank you, Michael, for the super chat. Appreciated. Mr. Don Lionheart is here with the $10 super chat. Hogue, we got to talk. I'm not sure this is the place right now, Don, but we'll move on. You said on X that Bonanza is very good, not great. You then proceeded to rate it a 9 out of 10. I think we need, nay, deserve a scoring rubric and explanation. Also, Infinite Wealth story done. Progress on the platinum, even though that's a gold trophy, but okay.
Yeah, I think that's trophy restart. I don't know what the message there is. This is a question that I've gotten a lot on that 9 out of 10. I think I explained myself already talking through Bonanza, but I also don't understand the people that read what I say, where I say very good, not great, and don't understand the difference between a 9 and a 10 in that rubric. Like, that's the rubric. As simple as it is.
Okay. Fair. I mean, what I will say, right, and I even saw someone in our chat last week, which I was going to comment on, that someone said that 10 out of 10 means it's a perfect game. I'm like, no, it doesn't. So such thing as a perfect game. And I would encourage you, depending on where you get your reviews or who you like to watch or read, seasongaming.com, that you check out the review policy, because it does vary, obviously, by outlet, right? The same 7 somewhere may not necessarily mean the same thing as a 7 somewhere else. So I would definitely check into that. But yeah, I'm with you, Hogue.
10 doesn't mean perfect. It's 10 out of 10 in my mind is something that is definitive in a way, that is extremely special, extraordinary in some form or fashion. And Bonanza is very fun. I like it quite a lot. It has significant negatives that you've heard me articulate on this episode, and that's going to prevent it from me giving it a 10 out of 10.
Fair enough. Yeah, so the way you describe 10, so for us at SG, and I'm sorry, I've got something in my eye. For us at SG, 10 out of 10 means historic, and the way we describe that, I think the way you said definitive, Hogue, is kind of similar to how we describe it 10 out of 10, is that it's doing something that either moves the industry forward or that will be remembered for years to come, because of the way it was done, without obviously any kind of faults in that sense, major faults. So Don, thank you. Glad you finished up Infinite Wealth. Big game. And thank you as always for the support.
Fantastic
Appreciate
game. Hope you loved it, Don.
Great. Continuing, Travis and I mentioned last week about Grounded 2. So still can't talk about that this week. We'll talk about it next week, but you can stay tuned for thoughts on that soon. And then, Luis, I want to pass over to you briefly on Wheel World, which is a smaller game that came out this week. You have finished it. Reviews going up officially, or formal review going up tomorrow. But you want to talk to us a little bit about it and what kind of the premise is?
Of course. Yeah, basically, Wheel World is like an arcades-like cycling game, which, you have this island where you need to get the legendary parts of your bike, to save the world. And
as you do,
and you just have to race a bunch of different cyclists all throughout the island. and it's quite basic in that sense. Talking about story wise. I finished it in about 5 hours, but a friend reached out to me and said, he was reviewing it as well, and he said, you might really like it, because one of the games that I really loved as well, an indie game called Season: A Letter to the Future, also features biking. It has more narrative themes than this game, but I'm a big fan of Annapurna Interactive since What Remains of Edith Finch, and I quite liked it. But I was very, very let down by the performance issues. We were talking before the show started, right? Last month for SG, I reviewed Section 13 and Cattle Country, two other good, very good indie games that are just hampered by performance issues. Frame drops, bugs, crashes, and that really breaks my heart, because if I like a game, I want to wholeheartedly recommend it, not recommend it with a caveat, right? Which is, maybe wait for an update or something. So I think the game is good. The game is fun. It has vibrant electronic music, when you're racing, and you can interchange your parts. There's a lot of DIY in the soul of the game, and it's worthwhile. But as I said, maybe for those fans of cycling or of indie games, should maybe wait a little bit for it to be updated.
Okay. So we'll have a formal review up tomorrow. You can check out from Luis on that one if you want to read more about it. But yeah, another one I saw kind of make the rounds this week. And then he's not here, obviously, but Travis mentioned last week he's reviewing Wildgate, which is one he talked about previously from going to the press event. His review in progress is up on IGN, so I just wanted to shout it out for him. Obviously, it's not scored yet. He's still spending time, but he said the general consensus is it's a lot of fun. Obviously, it's multiplayer only. There's really no story to speak of. And he said it's quite a bit of fun when it goes well, but it also, getting into those moments of fun, it can be challenging. Hogue, obviously, we were talking offline about some of the stuff he encountered. And then he said it's rather thin as well at the moment. So there's limited amount of kind of ships and characters and types of things. So you can check his review out if you want to know more about Wildgate, but he's playing that and he'll speak to more of that next week. Hogue, what else you got this week, man? Where's Hogue's notes at?
Yeah, I mean, I've been playing a ton of Hogue's Notes games. I just don't want to overwhelm with random crap here on the show. But I do have a couple standouts, one of which is one that which was the game that I was looking forward to most this year, but I was really waiting for a sale to get it on my Switch too. And that is the Suikoden compilation from Konami.
Yeah.
I love those games to death. And just putting them on and playing them again reminds me of a time in RPG making and JRPGs that I miss, to be quite frank. And I think these are really nice remasters. They basically high resolutioned all of the background imagery and the profile pics and things like that without tweaking too much of the pixel art in the games. But Suikoden really stands out for its design. For those that don't know, you have 108 characters that you can recruit to your team. This is one of the earliest games where you're building up kind of a fortress and you're fighting an actual war as part of the story of the Suikoden series. I think probably every Suikoden. I don't know that I've played every Suikoden, but it was very popular for a time in the 90s and then went away because Konami went away and started making pachinko machines. But they're bringing Suikoden back slowly but surely, and this remaster on the Switch 2 performs fantastically, and I love it. So I've been playing that, and then I've been playing a lot of other games that have been on sale that I've checked out. The standout for me so far this week is a game called The Wandering Village, which actually went into early access a couple of years ago. You might have popped your heads in. They've been working on it since then. It plays really well on the Switch. This is a game in which you're building a town up, but that town happens to be on the back of a ridiculously large dinosaur-type creature. And so you are building this up while also kind of communicating with the dinosaur as to where they should go and dealing with not quite roguelike elements, but procedural kind of things that you're going to deal with for your village as you progress through this campaign and this story. I find it to be very charming, the kind of perfect place between too complicated and too simple. Some of these strategy games get way too simple, too streamlined, and just aren't fun because of that. This is like right in the middle, has a very unusual art style. So it looks almost cartoonish when you zoom all the way in, like just little cartoon people moving around and doing things, but with like a lightly 3D village that you're building up. It has all the standard kind of things that you'd want to be doing in this: research trees, new buildings, new things to do, but also with the additional component of building buildings to talk to the dinosaur and to otherwise navigate this post-apocalyptic world. And so I was really impressed by how they got it functioning on the Switch. I'm always really interested in whether or not you can translate a game that is complicated, uses a keyboard, and has all these different rules and tooltips and things into that environment. And many games are not so great at it. One of my favorite city building games on the PC, Against the Storm, does not have my favorite kind of version on console. And so I'm waiting for them to kind of update that a little bit more before I bring it up in earnest in Hoag's Notes. But I love that game design. I just have not loved the porting so much. In this case, I think this is a really strong port. And so if you're interested at all in city building, if the premise that I describe interests you, check it out. It's on sale right now. I think it's the first week out on consoles. I bought it on Switch. I can't guarantee it's on sale everywhere. But do check it out. That's one I wanted to flag most definitely because I'm enjoying it so much.
Awesome. Yeah. So I was just going to mention, I like pulling these up when you're talking about them. So, yeah, 1.0 came out 10 days ago, right? So week before last. It's very positive reviews on Steam. And to your point, at least on Steam, it's 33% off right now. So it's normally $30. You can get it for 20. There's some additional content you can buy for it as well if you're interested. But yeah, it seems to be really well received.
Yeah, I love it. I cannot speak highly enough about it. I think the only other things I wanted to mention is, again, I have too long of a list here and I don't want to take everything over with indie or random games. But I mentioned it, I believe, last week that No Sleep for Kaname Date was coming out.
Oh.
And I have been playing that. If you're at all interested in the AI Somnium Files series, this is the next entry in that series. It's a bit of a Gaiden type game. It introduces more of the Zero escape room elements that, if you're missing from that series, now appear in AI. I do like this series. It is a little off kilter, even for me, who's played 130 hours of the 100 line. Now at this point, AI tends to go even a little bit weirder. I don't know if that's more Japanese or not, but it is certainly a little bit weirder than some other entries in this kind of genre. This one is no exception, and the escape rooms are a little bit niggling. Like, you're not quite sure whether the issue is a translation or that you're not seeing something that they intended you to see properly. But they are difficult, which I always like in a puzzle game or an adventure game. And they do feel like escape rooms. They do feel like you actually bought an entry into your local escape room and in a video game format are going through the efforts to put items together and solve various things to get out of these rooms. Zero Escape is my favorite version of this ever. And this is kind of a halfway house between the Danganronpas of the world and the Zero Escapes of the world.
Sorry, I wanted to ask because I really loved AI The Somnium Files, the first one, and I found it to be quite funny and very ridiculous in many ways. So you have to really get a sense of humor going into that game. But this one is, I just wanted to ask, it's much shorter, right, than the main entries that we had.
Well, I haven't beaten it yet, but that is what I have heard. Yes, that it's a side story type game. It's not a full price game. It's a $40 game. And of course it doesn't bear the AI name directly. I think it's No Sleep for Kaname Date, like from the world of AI, the Somnium Files, something like that. And so I expect it to be a shorter, lesser kind of entry. That said, it does seem to have as much of the kind of puzzle solving and investigation elements as you would want. It's probable that there's just less of them. So I'm enjoying that. That one came out, I believe, on Friday. So I haven't gotten too far into it. But I wanted to mention that. The other thing I wanted to mention that I did buy a couple of weeks ago that I haven't mentioned in this space, that I know is very popular, at least according to their marketing documents, is Ready or Not, which is a game that was on PC for a long time, but released on console a couple of weeks ago. And this is a game in which you are in a first-person shooter, but you're playing as a SWAT team member for all intents and purposes, and you're supposed to be kind of figuring out where the terrorists are, the robbers, or what have you, and dealing with civilians on the scene and making sure they get out and doing all these things all at once. I think the console version of this is pretty good. This is obviously not where my bread is buttered for the most part. This is not my favorite genre of game, but certainly the idea intrigued me, and I think the way that they've executed on these things in realistic-ish urban environments is a space where they can make some hay. That you see all this popularity with something like Rainbow Six Siege. This is not that. This is a story-based or campaign-based game. You can bring your buddies in, but you can also play it single player and have the bots run around with you. And I wanted to mention it for people that are interested in that type of content because it is a very competent port to consoles, if nothing else. I have enjoyed it. It's just not something that I usually will speak effusively about for 10 minutes at a time.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of people hit me up about this one for obvious reasons. You know, I kind of live in that space with first-person shooters, and I was like, it's just not my type of thing. For whatever reason, I don't really care for the SWAT type or siege type of games. They don't do a whole lot for me. So, but it definitely, whatever chord it struck in the community, it's blown up this past week because I've seen it everywhere. So good for the developer, I suppose. So good stuff. All right. A couple people have pinged me saying YouTube is having issues. I can't do anything about that.
Yeah, it looks fine to us.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if some people are struggling in certain regions or just certain internet things. I don't really know. So sorry if you're having issues, of course. Hopefully you can check back in with us. Disappointing as usual with Google in that space. But all right, let me see here. Okay, let's go ahead and move on then to some of our main stuff. So first thing I wanted to talk about is really kind of our cover story, which is around PlayStation. And we talked a couple weeks ago with Helldivers 2 getting the announcement that it was launching on Xbox in August. We kind of joke that they're like trading games because Gears of War obviously launching on PlayStation the exact same day as Helldivers 2 on Xbox, which, as we talked on our podcast, we love, right? More games, more places. We're not in the space of, of caring about the whole console war nonsense. And so a listing came out, which, funny enough, a bunch of people sent to me, as if I'm going to suddenly go apply at PlayStation. But a senior director role at PlayStation with a specific job listing around helping to curate experiences across all platforms for PlayStation first party, including, of course, PC, Xbox, Switch 2, and other platforms. And so we talked a couple weeks ago with Helldivers and Gears of War, and obviously Forza Horizon 5 now being the best-selling game on PlayStation so far this year.
By a
for
lot.
Good reason. Yeah, for good reason. I mean, that game's tremendous from a racing game perspective.
Mhm.
But I said at the time, and we've said this for some time, is at the end of the day, I mean, again, we can boil this down to the most simplest thing. It's money. And when Helldivers 2 launches on Xbox, and it's simply going to take them making more money than it took to port, it's just looking at additional ways to take your portfolio and make revenue off of it. It's really that simple. And so this doesn't really surprise me. I think probably a bigger deal was made out of this across socials. Go figure. That never happens. Than is really need to be made. But I think it's just more writing on the wall that Xbox obviously is putting more and more games elsewhere, and they will continue to do so, I think even more so. And I think what you'll see on the PlayStation side, as I said a few weeks ago, is one, you'll start to see that PlayStation to PC exclusivity timeline start to shrink. And you will start to see some PlayStation games on other platforms, especially the Switch 2, because there's really, from a market perspective, it's kind of shown there's really no reason not to do that as you can. So this isn't surprising to me. I don't know if you guys made anything else out about this, but it's pretty much what I would say to be expected.
I mean, there's a couple of things that are surprising to me about this story. One of which is that game console manufacturers still seem to be a little bit oblivious as to what's going to get pulled from a LinkedIn profile for the game industry
true.
News outlets.
True.
They're not as
Yes.
cautious as they should be with that kind of thing. That's the first thing. But outside of that, I think I'm on record, certainly in other places, if not here, saying that Helldivers was very likely to be the amuse-bouche of this particular initiative, that they would go and check to make sure that it was worth the time and effort, and then open the doors more proactively to more games. Now, I think you probably put them in order for the things that people are going to care about the least. Helldivers, obviously a live service game, something that really fits into the Microsoft brand. Sony, even Sony fans can look at that and say, yeah, all right, that's not the biggest deal in the world. You know, when Last of Us comes over, that's going to be a big day, that kind of thing.
Yes.
But it doesn't surprise me that they're pursuing this. It does surprise me a little bit that they are actively seeking to fill that role before they get the confirmation from Helldivers. Sony is a notoriously conservative company in terms of moving things business-wise. And so I would expect them to wait a step. But from the employment pipeline kind of perspective, I can understand saying we got to get this going and then we'll be ready when we get the returns we expect. So I think this does suggest that Sony expects what I expect, which is that Helldivers is going to do bonkers money on Xbox, that the console war is over, and that PlayStation does not see Xbox as something that is going to eat into their console sales ability. And so it doesn't really hurt them to feed the Xbox beast in the long run, because there is no beast to be fed. And that they are assuming all of those things at this moment in time, because finding the right candidate and hiring them is not an immediate process. So none of this surprises me, except for how public it is and how quickly they are moving in this direction.
I just wanted to add that what I was surprised by is by the reaction of people online. On Friday night, I saw somebody share like, this is, you know, unexpected, like breaking news. And for me, that was not surprising in the least. You know, I was more surprised by seeing, you know, Lego Horizon on Direct. I think that, you know, the walls have been slowly crumbling down. I mean, of course, as you have said, I was listening to a podcast with Matt Piscatella, right, of Circana, right, of game sales analysis. And, you know, as he rightly points out, and as you said, you know, Forza Horizon 5, Indiana Jones, all of these games that, you know, were not forgotten on the charts, but you see them just jump straight right up to the top after they debuted on PlayStation. And you know, it's money, of course. And I do have to say that looking at the strategy that PlayStation has done on PC, I doubt that we'll see Spider-Man. Maybe The Last of Us completes, you know, with the whole HBO show trying to promote it. I think I can see that happening. But I don't know if like all of their games are going to make their way to Xbox. Or, you know, I might be wrong. It's an interesting time, you know. But I think that the first time that I was very surprised by this whole thing was when Sony bought Bungie. That was one of the news that really took me by surprise. I was like, well, there's really, you know, Bungie, the guys who made Halo, are now owned by Sony, right? I mean, I know it's a very different time, right, with Destiny and a Marathon and whatever. But yeah, I think that they're doing the right call with this job listing.
Marathon or whatever, a truer phrase was
title.
never spoken.
No, it should just be that on the box. So,
yeah, marathon or
marathon whatever.
or whatever. But yeah, I think that it doesn't surprise me. We've, you know, in various spaces, many of us have been talking about this for some time. I think that you will see this escalate, right, over the next year or two, or accelerates, probably the better word. But I think that it is going to be interesting. Helldivers, as you guys have joked, others in chat have said, is kind of an Xbox game to begin with.
It is.
Right? I mean, that's how people, for whatever reason, right or wrong, people mentally, including myself, still think of Xbox as my multiplayer game with friends box and PlayStation as my single player adventure box. It will be interesting to see when that moment comes, and I bet everything it will come. It's coming, of when like Last of Us or one of those major first-party single-player IPs goes from PlayStation to Xbox, what the sales look like on Xbox. Because I think it will look similar to what you're seeing on PlayStation, where it's like PlayStation has had different racers. Obviously, Gran Turismo is super popular, but it's a very different type of racer from Horizon. And there are other attempts in that vein with Evolution Studios, and some of the other games they made just didn't really land on the PlayStation side. And Horizon 5 is a pinnacle racing game. It's remarkable. So it doesn't surprise me at all that that's been just beloved on the PlayStation side and sold extremely well. And I think when you get that single player narrative experience, be it Last of Us, be it Horizon, be it whatever it ends up being, Tsushima or whatever on Xbox.
They should trade Horizons.
I think you're going to see the same thing, right? I think you're going to see that community on the Xbox embrace that and really enjoy it. That's what I think, anyway, just personally.
Yeah, I think they'll sell through. The question is whether it'll make sense with the user base that Xbox has, and whether or not Microsoft has conditioned their people to basically only go through Game Pass. Like, these are open philosophical, psychological questions that nobody can answer yet. The Xbox fans will tell you, oh, Phil Spencer and the team have all thought about this, and Game Pass is great for everybody. Might be. The people that are against all that, the folks at Sony and otherwise that say you can't possibly run your Game Pass like that and make it make sense over the long term, they might be right in the end. We are still in early days for these business models, and people don't understand that, and the news cycle doesn't let people understand that because everybody has to get out there and shout to the heavens about whatever's happening immediately right in front of them. And I try to fight that in places like Hangouts and Headlines, but that's what is happening. That's video gaming in 2025. And it will be a question mark as to whether Sony can actually make enough money, even if they were number one on Xbox, if they see even the smallest hit to their Sony install base, on especially the next generation, the generational transition. Do they wield this back, right? Because we think right now the Xbox is going to play Steam games. That's going to mean that it's going to be able to play some material percentage of Sony PlayStation games as it stands. And so there's a really big question as to what this even kind of falls out into, as to what the various console user bases look like after this next generational transition, because nobody really knows. Nobody really knows what the exact market preferences are. If you can get all Sony games and all Microsoft games on your Xbox with a Steam connection, does that mean you just are happier sitting over there? Maybe it's controller preference. Maybe it's the way that they score achievements versus trophies. We just don't know yet. And that's fun for me, a business watcher and a corporate lawyer. It's not so fun for everybody else that has a vested interest in seeing the green X or the blue P or whatever else. And so the one winner in this that I can promise you is sitting there beating their chests, quite literally, and that's Nintendo. Nintendo is loving all of this. Yeah, please, go non-exclusive, everybody. Everybody already thinks that we're off here in La La Land doing our own thing. Even more so now. You know what you're not getting? You're not getting Mario and you're not getting Donkey Kong. We have some of the best developers in the world, and we are not coming over. So everybody that goes and says it's only a matter of time before Nintendo breaks, I don't think you understand the history of Nintendo. This is not on the blocks for them. They had the freaking Wii U. You don't think there was internal pressure to kick games out to other places during the Wii U? Nintendo is going to be the bulwark, the fortress Nintendo, and they're going to look at this and say, hey, you want our stuff? You get an Xbox. Get a Steam platform. Get a PlayStation. We don't care. You put it right next to your Switch, too. We'll sell you Mario 95.
That's exactly right. In fact, you mentioned Matt Piscatella, who, he's pretty active. And I've talked to him in DMs about some stuff too, but someone posted back to him this week trying to be smart as always and said, absolute nonsense what you're talking, exclusives move units. And he replied back with a long detailed thread of just like data points and stuff around showing that that's not the case. Essentially that this is the new world. And to your point, Hogue, the reason I bring it up is he said Nintendo is on their own ground. Nobody can do what Nintendo does, period. They have the IPs, they have the history, they have the fan base, they have everything that has created this bubble of insulation from what's happening in the rest of the gaming sphere. And they will take advantage of that because not only do they do everything Hogue just said, they do so with the biggest install base now, from a console perspective, that is. And with the Switch 2, they are now accepting more of third party, right? All the other games that are coming on. So you kind of get all of it to a degree anyway on the Switch 2, and they will live and breathe in that space, and I think they're going to be just fine. But I think on the other stuff, it just it doesn't make any difference to me. Just play where you want to enjoy. And I want to pull up Alex's super chat because the other interesting thing here that I joke with some of the guys about offline. So Alex super chat $4.99 says, I sense a great disturbance in the force as suddenly many fanboys cried out in agony and suddenly became PC players. And I think you're seeing an increase in the PC space for a number of reasons. One of them is this, right? You can get, not only can you get games that are only PC, and Steam does a big job of that, but you're seeing stuff like PlayStation now, Xbox is PC day and date and all those things. So you can get most of your games on PC. The funny thing for me, as I joke with all the guys, is for me personally, and I know this is coming from a point of privilege, so I recognize as I say that, is there's still games that I love that you can't play on PC. Astrobot's not on PC. I'm playing Bonanza. I can't play Bonanza on PC. Ghost of Yotei is not launching on PC. So there's still that time period where if I'm a PC only player, I'm lacking for me personally, especially covering games, right? So at the end of the day, still today, the best option as always is to own everything. And again, I know that's not possible for a lot of people, but I think PC is definitely that space where you kind of get the most. And I think that's for obvious reasons, right? So sorry, Luis, I think you were going to say something before I jump to the super chat. Thank you, Alex.
I just wanted to say that I think that Nintendo is in a very privileged position, as a unicorn, as you guys said, because, I was just, bringing it back to what you asked me, my first console, the Game Boy and Pokemon Red and the GameCube as well. I think that, people my age, right, in our 30s who have disposable income, it debuted as the most sold console in the US in history right now, the Switch 2. So I think Nintendo's in a great position because the younger generations are not interested in the least in getting a console, right? All data indicates that they think it's archaic, right? That they might play something like on their phone and just not like have a dedicated console to it, or maybe get if a PC can play a game, maybe they'll play that, right? But playing a console is for newer generations apparently is becoming something that they're not interested in, basically. So I'm glad that existing consumers, for Nintendo at least, will go and buy their console, buy Kirby Air Riders, a direct exclusive 20 years later after Kirby Air Ride, or Metroid Prime 4. They're speaking directly to those, and the GameCube didn't really sell that many units, right? I think it was like 20 million, 25 million.
Yes, 21 million. Yeah.
So I think that's really speaking to a very specific subset of gamers that you have nowadays. So that is, it's Nintendo, right? We'll see how it pans out for them, but I definitely do not see them budging not even an inch, right? The people who say that they might, well, we'll see.
Yeah. I think, and damn it, there was something else I was going to mention. It just dropped out of my head. In this space, relating to, we hear about Xbox being, and we talked about this a couple weeks ago, Hogue, about being kind of third in the console space, and they've lost the console specific space, right? But again, I think it's, we don't want to also be too dismissive of the fact that they have sold whatever the hell the number is. I know there's always debate over it. Between 30 and 40 million is what we'll say. Xbox Series S's and X's. That's nothing to sneeze at, to Luis's point, right? I mean, that still makes it a very good selling platform. And so as long as I think PlayStation sees, like we said, the number of copies that will allow them to make a profit margin over what it took to port with their studios that are based on the porting stuff, I don't think that's a very high bar to overcome for additional revenue.
I think they are doing the right thing to assume success, but I do think that we have to note that it is an assumption. When we see other analysts talk about something as good and as high selling on PlayStation as Final Fantasy 16, and it being under 100,000 units sold on Xbox by anybody's best measure, is crazy. Right. So people looking at that kind of data point are saying, all right, even if we have a big franchise, even if we have something that is well thought of in the PlayStation ecosystem, it may or may not succeed on the Xbox ecosystem because we're still figuring out what that audience is even willing to spend money on. And so I think Helldivers is going to do gangbusters for them on Xbox. I do. And I think Sony saying it is going to do gangbusters for us is probably the right play if you think your pipeline of employment is 3 to 6 months. And maybe it is for them on this type of role. Then this is the right time to have that conversation. But it is an assumption. And it's not impossible that Sony gets the data back from Helldivers and says, actually, we're going to slow this process up, if not abandon it altogether. And so, yes, this is a big moment to see a request for employee like that. It is not a commitment at the corporate level that they are definitely going in that direction. And God knows Sony has changed direction a number of times on very significant investments and business models in this generation alone.
What?
Yeah, well, it's not like they're the only ones, Microsoft?
Yeah, I mean, yes, we've seen that more than ever, honestly, I think, in the industry, at least since maybe the 80s. But I think, I think that we are going to see it. You're exactly right, Hogue. Nothing is given until it's done. And so I think that assumption. I also would love to see, right? So you bring up Final Fantasy 16, which I think is a good example, but it's an interesting one, right? Because what we have seen, at least in the data that we have publicly across PlayStation, Xbox, and PC players, is that a lot of people in that space own more than one of those platforms, right? Yeah. So you're not playing singularly on one of those three typically. And that means that Final Fantasy 16 being, what's a year and a half? I forget when that game launched, honestly, now 2 years. It's
2023.
I think it was almost 2 years.
Okay. So 2-year-old game that's been on both PC and PlayStation. It's not a huge surprise to me that didn't sell extremely well on Xbox, even though, you see on the, again, goes to show you that social media doesn't really represent much of anything in the space of people clamoring for Final Fantasy on Xbox. But as an example standpoint, I think it's a good example, but it's also one that has an asterisk next to it, because I think it's kind of a different example than maybe something that was either PlayStation only or first party and not on PC, or came out sooner, maybe 6 months rather than 2 years. I think that all those data points are really interesting. And I'm sure being analyzed to the 10th degree by all of these companies right now.
Yeah. No, they're making bets on what they think is going to happen. That's how businesses operate. But certainly Helldivers has some of the same weaknesses in terms of it's available on PC. It is not day and date. And so they will be getting that data and reacting to it. They will. The reason that an employment listing goes up right now is because they think that the pipeline will take them that long to find a candidate that they want. So
I'll do it. Just send in a referral for me, guys. I appreciate it.
Is in.
Honestly, sorry, Luis.
Oh yeah,
quick joke. I was gonna just say that someone said the salary range for that role, it's listed, and I think it was like 240 to 360K, and people were like, "Wow, that's a ton of money." And I was like, honestly, it's not that much money for that type of role. Like
the level of importance of that strategy.
That's not that much money. I immediately said, I was like, that looks low to me, unless there's some type of strong bonus structure or stock options that are included. That's pretty low for that type of role. But ananyway, sorry, Luis.
That's why you give it that kind of runway, because you know that you're bare minimum middle of the market.
I just wanted to briefly mention that it is true that what the people online are just a very small subset of the consumer at large. And I think another one of those games that proves it is Sea of Thieves, which also came out in 2016, right? I believe, or it's a very
or 17, yeah,
it's quite an older game, and it did really well on PlayStation when it came out. I also bought it day one on PlayStation, and I really like that. It really welcomes you into the ecosystem. If you because I had my account on Xbox, because I was playing on a friend's Xbox Series X, and then I logged in on my PlayStation, and my progress was there. So I think that they're doing it in a very friendly manner for anybody who has ever played their games on PC or on Xbox, and to see we're now on PlayStation, and you don't have to start from the beginning. You can start, right? You can pick up where you left your progress. And I think that's a very smart move on their part, because it speaks to the whole idea of Xbox. This is a console marketing campaign. It's an ecosystem. that I suppose PlayStation now is an Xbox as well.
Yeah.
Yes, this is an Xbox, indeed.
Yeah, I think it's funny. I also think you see to that spectrum of the people online who kind of are coping for whatever reason too. You've seen that from the PlayStation diehards of like they're trying anything to damage controls, maybe not the right word, right? But
it's
it's
the
like they
bargaining
don't.
phase.
Yeah, they don't want exactly. They don't want to accept that PlayStation is not going to be the walled ecosystem and their games will never go somewhere else. It's like it's happening, guys. Just it's okay. Trust me.
No, it's
gonna be
honest
okay.
to God grief. I make the joke, but it is. It's grief. You see it in gamer communities on all sorts of these news items.
That's great. Yeah, that's a great word for it. But yeah, I mean, it's okay. You still be able to buy your PlayStation 6 and play games on your PlayStation 6. I mean, you'd be fine. And I remind people, at least not at this moment, Xbox is not leaving the console space, right?
Well, Microsoft isn't. What they do with the Xbox brand, who knows? But Microsoft is here.
Yeah, at this point, it's hard to even say. All we can say definitively right now is that they have announced, again, take that with a grain of salt, but I can tell you that they, have their design for the next generation of console. And so, as we've said, unless something drastic happens, which isn't beyond the realm of possibility, as we've seen, but unless something drastic happens, Xbox is staying in the console space, at least for the foreseeable future. So, we'll continue to do this as we always do here. We just talk about games because that's all that matters. And there's plenty of good ones to talk about. And that will segue me into hopefully another good one to talk about, which is Battlefield 6. So this week, we finally got to see Battlefield 6. If you weren't aware, Battlefield Labs, which is like their test alpha platform, if you will. So instead of like creating Battlefield and then having an open alpha that they invited a bunch of random people to, this time they did Battlefield Labs and they picked people who were prior players and slowly started to let people into this game late last year. And it's been in this phase for several months now, if not a year plus. And so this week we got the debut. It was really just a cinematic trailer, more of a tone trailer than anything else for the franchise, which just looks like Battlefield. I don't know what anyone else expected, but it's a lot of things blowing up and war. Next week, we do get the official multiplayer debut, which is what I think a lot of people are obviously most interested in. So that's on the 31st, and we'll talk more about that next week. But I did want to mention a couple things here because someone, as they always do, I can't rely on Travis to break his NDA. He's too formal, like an asshole. But, there is a guy on YouTube that leaked his multiplayer footage at max settings on a 5090 on PC. And it was about 10 to 15 minutes of footage, full multiplayer match. And, of course, I checked it out. Just because I, love Battlefield, and it looks really strong. So if you haven't seen this yet, what I took from it is it looks a lot like Battlefield 4, which in my opinion is right around the peak of the franchise between Bad Company 2, 3, and 4. And so it looks like the classic, even UI. 4 players, you've got your loadout, you've got whether you're the medic or, your normal kind of soldier. And then the rest of the gameplay looked very similar. Full destruction, pretty quick kill times. Spawning was a lot faster than 2042. That was another weird thing of 2042 is you could die constantly, but it'd take you like 15, 20 seconds to spawn every time, which was frustrating. Excuse me, I got the hiccups. But it looks really strong. So I'm pretty damn excited about it. The other info that came out this week that kind of leaked was that there should be an open beta in August, so here in a few weeks, and so everyone will get to try this. And then the release date was leaked as well, which is presumably, if this is reliable, which it seems to be, October 10th. And so fiscal year reporting for EA said this was set to release before March of next year, the end of the quarter. Pretty interesting to see if they launch as early as October. So they've obviously made some progress on this game. And with the rumored Black Ops 7 launching supposedly on November 14th, I believe is the rumored date, they're obviously trying to get a jump, right, to get Battlefield back into the good graces and minds of people before the next Black Ops comes out. So I'll stop there. I haven't had a chance to play this yet. I do know people who are playing it, but again, they're just abiding by these NDAs. They're acting like they're real things. You know what I mean, Hope? Can't you just talk about stuff? But so I can't say much on it, obviously, and even if I did play it, I'd be under NDA. But it seems to be, from the couple leaks we've had, to be much more in the classic Battlefield vein that players like myself really loved. And so I'm very excited about this. I feel that the shooter space is much more fun when we have a good Battlefield. And it's really the entry in the military shooter space that I've always preferred the most. So I hope it lives up to expectations.
Yeah, I could get excited about a Battlefield. I haven't enjoyed one in a long time. This is the kind of series that I did like for a time in my life. I like the combined arms stuff that we talked about in an earlier episode. And I like the destruction elements from some of the Battlefields. I would love to see all of that incorporated in a modern game. I am over the kind of arena shooting, Call of Duty approach to multiplayer, if I was ever under it. But I don't know that I have a great deal of faith that they're going to wind up with something that I actually like out of this process. So I will be on the wait and see kind of side of things here. That said, they definitely have the possibility of making something that I would enjoy, and I would be happy to partake in that if it would be something that I would enjoy. So we'll see, I guess.
I just wanted to say that, just like Andrew Wilson, the CEO of EA, I have really high hopes for Battlefield 6. I drafted it earlier this year for my fantasy critic roster. I fully believe that it's gonna do well. Of course, I don't encourage
the other
anybody
couple
to
hundred
pre-order.
games not available, or
I don't know. I thought that it's. It's this whole idea of developers or publishers going to a return to form, right? This concept that they throw around often, and when they take a couple of years with a leading IP such as Battlefield, I pay attention to it, and hopefully they do stick the landing. Apparently, there's going to be a story mode, right? So I always love the campaigns. I always love the campaigns in these games, and the multiplayer. I've been wanting to get into like a good FPS multiplayer game, and the sentiment online is that Call of Duty has lost the plot, right? And you can see it in the videos with, like, I don't know, Nicki Minaj like shooting a Ninja Turtle or whatnot. So I mean, I think that there's a lot of people who are like FPS veterans rooting for this game as well. So I will be keeping an eye out for it. I will.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think beyond the obvious IP ridiculousness that Call of Duty has become in the Fortnite vein, and they're making their money, so whatever. But just the gameplay is so simple and so repetitive in Call of Duty, where I always preferred Battlefield for that reason. The complexity of the shooting and the mechanics is slightly deeper than Call of Duty, but obviously it's really the squad-based stuff, the role stuff, the destruction, and some of the the larger scale with vehicles. And I just think they've always done that really well, or they used to do that extremely well. They've obviously had their gaps, right, to Hoag's point, and both your points. I'm really hopeful for this one, right? They took a step back a few years ago. They set up new studio. They basically revamped the entire leadership structure, including obviously Vince Zampella, who's overseeing the Battlefield franchise now. To what capacity, I don't think we really know, but his name's attached to it. And so, say what you will about his input or what, but Vince doesn't miss. I mean, he just doesn't. He's the one who made Call of Duty popular with 4. He's the one who made Titanfall. He's the one who made Apex. I mean, the dude's got a resume that's tough to touch. And so if he really is overseeing this and his handprints are on this, I think we're in good hands, and I hope that it really comes through. But I'm excited for it. So the fact that I may end up missing the beta, it sounds like it's going to be out right when I'm out of the country. But regardless, if it does release on October 10th, I'll be there day one without a doubt, and just fingers crossed. So, Okay, so just a couple other kind of basic points I wanted to touch on in terms of news items. So I wanted to mention Dying Light: The Beast. So Dying Light, you know, I don't know where anyone stands on that franchise nowadays. I was a little disappointed with 2, but we did get to play The Beast at Summer Game Fest. Alex played it. Ray and I were there with him and the developers, and I got to say that this impressed me a lot more than what I saw out of 2 when I played that. So it looks really strong. It was supposed to come out in August. They've delayed it now for 4 weeks, just for extra polish is what they said, which I can't fault them for. I think Dying Light 2 launched with needing a lot of polish. So
no question.
I hope that I hope that this does it. It already looked and played very well back in June. So I'm excited about this. It feels like it's expanding upon the concept. So it's got, you know, guns all the time now that you can find and modify, and melee weapons, and it still has the parkour and everything else, but it just looks and runs, at least what we played, very well. So that's now September 19th, and I'm kind of looking forward to that one, whereas I don't think I would have been really excited before having checked it out at SGF.
Yeah, no, I've heard nothing but good things about the folks that did get to put their hands on it. I think in that SGF time frame. I liked Dying Light 2 more than you did, and I know that you don't need more content on your backlog, Ains, but I would recommend at some point popping back in to see how it goes now, insofar as they made significant improvements to how it played when it first came out. And I thought it was a better game than you did when it first came out, but I think it's worth checking out now. Dying Light: The Beast is something that I'm interested in. 4 weeks doesn't bother me at all. That does suggest that things are coming in, but they were going to miss the runway by just a little bit. So that's totally okay. I think honestly, middle of September is probably a better time frame than late August. Like August already in my head has a bunch of games that I'm interested in coming out. That's when Delta comes out. The week after that, I think, is Hell Is Us, or not Hell Is Us, right?
Yep.
Yes,
That's it. That's right. Yeah, and Mafia.
Mafia. So it's a dense kind of season of time for the kinds of games that I'm interested in, and so I think middle of September sounds better to me. So it might or might not just be polish. It might also be marketing, but I'm entirely in favor of little breaks. I don't love it when it's immediately like when you think something's going to come out. So this is a perfectly reasonable amount of time ahead of time. And I think there's no reason to believe this is not going to be cool.
Yeah.
I really very much liked the parkour in Dying Light 2, and it was an interesting decision because first it was going to be a direct DLC of Dying Light 2, and then they decided the more they were working on it, they decided to make it this standalone expansion. So hopefully it's priced a little bit less than a full release nowadays, but I just hope that it advances the Dying Light franchise, because the Dying Light 2 did not have weapons, right? If I believe in the beginning, and they just implemented them after people were clamoring for it, right? And you know, the developers listened, and then they added weapons. So
Guns,
I think, guns,
yeah,
guns specifically. So I don't know. I hope that this one just right out the door comes out well, and not have to wait a year, you know, for it to be tweaked.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah. I think at least what we played, and you never know what we were playing on, right? You don't get those details when your hands on there, but at least what Alex played and we were witnessing with the developer already looked night and day above what Dying Light 2 was when it launched. So it was very impressive. Alex actually just commented in the chat, and he said that looks stunning on the demo I tried, and it really did. It was pretty amazing. So hopeful for it. I know I did. There was some press about it this week, obviously, other than delay, but just additional updates. So check back in with that team, and looking forward to it.
I just love hitting zombies in the face with objects. It's what I love. I still turn on Dead Island 2 from time to time.
Dead Island 2 is a fun game, man.
Yeah, no, that's one of my hidden gems. Much like Donkey Kong, it's just fun to get in there and hit zombies in the face.
It's fun.
Yeah. Speaking of hitting things in the face, Amazon and Killer Films, who partnered on the Fallout TV series, right, which was pretty damn well acclaimed, are teaming up. They announced for a Wolfenstein series. With the log line, they were asking about it, and they basically, the quote was, "The story of killing Nazis is evergreen." And I think that I'm looking forward to this one. To your point, if it's just the core of Wolfenstein and BJ going out there and just slaughtering a bunch of Nazis, I'm already in. I'm sold. Just bring it on.
All right, they're definitely going to need a little bit more plot than that.
Nope.
Right?
Nope. Just an hour of killing Nazis every week. It's therapeutic, is what we'll call it.
Didn't Amazon also have the Man in the High Castle? They should just have a crossover event where BJ shows up in the High Castle.
I'm completely in. Let's do this. Let's go.
Yeah. I wanted to say I started streaming this year, and I streamed the 3 games actually. The first one, the DLC, and the second one. And I think the first one has the strongest story. I think the second one goes a little bit too bombastic. It loses the plot a little bit. With the robot dinosaurs and all of that.
Yes.
But it's good. I think it's just the right amount of wacky. And if it's the same people that made the Fallout series, I trust them. I think that the Fallout series did a great job with these 3 perspectives of the characters, and having BJ Blazkowicz. Honestly, the cutscenes were strong. He loses some folks in the front line, and I think that you have a good baseline to make a series from.
Yeah,
I don't think it's impossible for this to work. I think that this has a better chance than Mass Effect, and wasn't there an announcement that these folks that worked on Fallout were working on Mass Effect too? I mean, Mass Effect also.
So they are working on Mass Effect. I don't know if it's the same production company. Someone can double check me on that. So Killer Films, who's Jonathan Nolan, or excuse me, that's the production company. And then Jonathan Nolan and the other 2 that produced Fallout are producing Wolfenstein. Okay. I don't know if that's the same core group that's doing Mass Effect, but they obviously are making a Mass Effect series.
Yeah, that was the one. The news item came out where there was somebody that was saying that much of the Fallout production team was working on Mass Effect, where I said, well, okay, that at least gives me a certain amount of calm, because I agree with both of you. Fallout, the TV series on Amazon, which I didn't think could work at all, like, just to be entirely honest, really nailed what's fun about Fallout as a universe. And I don't love every plot point in that series. I don't think it's perfect, but the reason that you have those pops in like Fallout player numbers when that series is running is because you immediately say, oh yes, this is what's interesting about this premise, and I should go play Fallout because I haven't played that in a number of years. And so if they can do that with Wolfenstein, I think they can. If they can do that with Mass Effect, that would be amazing. I just think Mass Effect is probably the hardest thing they've tried to grab onto and do. And we'll see how that works out. But I was at least heartened by the people that did Fallout clearly did their homework, went in and said, what is it at the heart of this that makes Fallout Fallout? Yeah. And replicated it in TV form. And that's not easy to do. We've got a whole history of video game translations that do not capture the heart of what made the video game popular. Fallout might be the first that actually succeeds on that premise. So,
don't remind me.
I'm sorry, Ains. Was there one that really let you down? Did it have a master chef in it?
At times, he might as well have been a chef. Honestly, I mean, it would have been maybe more entertaining. God, man, it still hurts. The wound is still fresh.
It's a tough thing to do, and it's clearly a tough thing to do for people that aren't invested already in the game franchise that they have been tasked with bringing to the screen. And so if they're willing to do the homework on Fallout, and we just assume that they're not just all rampant Fallout fans, then I think we do have some reason to believe they will do the homework with Wolfenstein and with Mass Effect.
Agree. Yeah, and I also agree that Mass Effect's the hardest of those 3, I would see, is making that a meaningful series and kind of capturing what makes that special. It's funny because you say it's, which I agree with you. You said it's sometimes harder, or one of the hard aspects is capturing an audience who may not be familiar with the games, which is 100% true. And then I look at Halo, I'm like the story is so easy to capture people with. Like, what are you doing? Oh boy. Anyway, moving on. Excuse me. I now want to talk about the biggest news story of the week, because this one concerns me, boys. And I I feel that someone was done dirty in this. So if you didn't see this, the biggest news story of the week, Nintendo coming out and confirming that Mario and Peach are just friends.
All right, now I'm going to have to lawyer up on this. I read these news items. I went into my Nintendo Daily app. Nintendo does not ever use the word just, right? So the lawyer has to get in here and say, what is the Nintendo quote? Nintendo says, let's see if I can pull this up behind the scenes, that the pair are good friends who help each other out whenever they can. And I think justifiably, many people read that as saying, oh, well, they're not willing to say that they're in anything more romantic or anything more exciting that you might otherwise couple them up with. But the lawyer says it is not impossible for someone who is in a romantic relationship to also be friends with the person that they're in a relationship with. Nintendo does not use the word just. The headline writers use the word just. The articles written on this topic use just. But all Nintendo said is that they're friends who help each other out. And as far as I'm concerned, that can also describe me and my wife. But we are still, in fact, married.
I certainly hope that you're friends with the person you're married to. I mean, that seems like a prerequisite. But he has been risking his life for 40 years, Hogue. Over 40 years.
Well, see, so part of what they're stuck in here with is spoilers, I guess, for the end of Mario Odyssey. But that's a almost decade-old game now at this point. Peach flatly rejects Mario's proposal at the end of that game, folks. So at that point in time, they're not married. They're not boyfriend and girlfriend. What are they? What can Nintendo say about what they are?
Could she at least make him like a lord or something? Do something for the man. How is he saving her life for 45 years and then he goes back to plumbing toilets? This isn't right.
How does he still look so good?
This will not stand. This will not stand. This is not fair. I don't like Peach. I'm throwing all my red shells at Peach from now on.
I understand it. I understand that Pauline and Daisy do appear to be the better potential romantic options in the Marioverse. I understand.
Pauline, okay.
Well,
Pauline's rocking those
not
nightclub
DK World,
outfits.
though.
That's true.
DK World, she's a little young in DK World.
Yeah.
Yes,
that's probably not the Pauline I'm talking about.
Yeah, the Pauline in Odyssey, the Pauline we see in Odyssey, of course.
Yeah, I thought this was funny. It's just one of those weird things that comes up in the gaming community where it's like, where did this comment come from? And it just sounded so out of sorts. Like
it does.
Yeah.
That Nintendo app is gold all the time because they are just making news about things that don't have any news.
Yeah.
So you will get the most unhinged summary of Splatoon world fiction just randomly sent into your brain on a Wednesday morning. And this is the kind of thing that happens in that app. So yes, the Nintendo News app is crazy bonkers. Sometimes it crosses the threshold and gets reported on. I think I saw this on CNN, I believe. So yeah, sometimes it just
I mean, that
breaks
doesn't surprise me. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me at all. But either way, I found that funny. And yeah, Mario, you got to, I don't know, find someone else to spend your time on.
I mean, if that's any takeaway from this episode of the Bitcast, you do want to make sure that the time and effort that you're putting into your relationship is reciprocated by the recipient of that time and effort. You do.
Yeah, I mean, he should be retired with like his own castle and lot of land at this point. You know what I mean? She's a princess. Come on.
We have no idea what her estate looks like. She's a princess of what? Does the Mushroom Kingdom have assets? I have a whole host of questions here.
I mean, the castle's nice.
The castle does appear nice, but it also gets broken down or sucked into space or whatever happens.
And who fixes it?
Darn often.
Mario. It's always Mario
fixes it.
Because I think I've done it like 20 times.
I can't tell what relationship the Toads have to the kingdom at all. Are they happy citizens? Are they tax-paying fiefs? Are they slaves? I don't know.
This is true. They do seem to be taken advantage of to some degree. We've got a lot of questions for Nintendo. We're peeling back the onion, and it's not looking good.
I complained about Bonanza's story not meeting its premise, but this is Nintendo sets up worlds and says, look, this is how things are. You're going to have fun bouncing on mushrooms or what have you. We are not going to go into a codex. We are not going to even have our timeline make sense if you're Zelda and Link, right? So whatever. It is what it is. There's a kingdom. There's a princess. She needs to be saved from time to time. You're a plumber from Brooklyn. What of it? Okay.
There was a funny video I saw someone posted about that with DK because they were joking about like the DK lore, and apparently at some point, I don't follow this stuff, no one does, but it was a joke, obviously. And in the original Donkey Kong, the arcade Donkey Kong, where you're running up to jump the barrels and save, the woman at the top is Pauline, is what Nintendo has said, apparently in former communications. And so there was a funny video where the guy's like, that was 40 years ago, and now she's 13 in DK Bonanza? None of this makes sense, Nintendo.
Right. Well, and like I said at the top of this episode, a lot of that is not going to make sense. They are going to hand wave at a whole bunch of stuff. They like the name Pauline, and you're going to love it. You're going to live with it. We're going to have fossils that look like things from Donkey Kong Country. Check it out. Get excited. But that's the way this game is structured. And I am resentful of some of the things that they don't do in tying up those loose ends. And that's going to be my personal cross to bear for really the remainder of my days. But it's Nintendo. They do what they do. They understand that the core purpose of the video game that they have made is that fun loop that we talked about. Blasting through the mountain, turning it on because you want to just have fun for 10 minutes. And the rest is unnecessary, which I agree with. But then don't waste my time. Don't spend so much of your energy on this stuff that you're not actually going to make sense.
Fair. All I'll say that is if you see me in battle mode or the battle royale mode on Mario Kart, you don't want to be Peach in my lobby. There's gonna be a problem. You're gonna lose. So
I'll roll in as Pauline. It'll be fine. Pauline looks fantastic in Mario Kart. I will hear nothing to the contrary.
Yeah, I'm almost always DK, so you'll know I'm out there. So we'll team up.
By the way, I did get the Super Mario Party Jamboree update this week as well.
What is the update?
Which is fine. Nintendo is a crazy company and they do stupid stuff, right? So they have these updates that they're running. There's a Kirby one coming next month, I think, where it's like $20 to update your Switch 1 version to a Switch 2 version.
Oh, right.
In this case, though, they added what they called Jamboree TV. I don't have a camera. Every review that I've read says the camera stuff is lame as it looks, as it did on the Treehouse. But it does have an up-resolution version of Mario Party and some mouse-based games because the Joy-Cons now have mouse functionality. Sure. It's a perfectly fine purchase, but it is probably going to be the last time that we see the old Donkey Kong design. And having played Bonanza for however many hours I've played it before putting this on, the old Donkey Kong now suddenly looks horrific to my mind's eye. It's like, okay, all right, new Donkey Kong, you've won me over. I like you, buddy.
I thought you were going to say the opposite because you weren't big on his new design originally.
I'm not big on it, or I wasn't big on it. I still think it's a little too emotional, too emotive for what I'm looking for. He's very cartoony, but yes, I do enjoy him in Bonanza, and it is like a weird alien homunculus ape man in Super Mario Party Jamboree Switch 2 edition. So get excited for that, people. Go be Donkey Kong and frighten your friends and loved ones. He no longer looks like Donkey Kong, and they turned a switch in my brain. So thank you for that, Bonanza. Nice. But I wanted to mention that. I should have mentioned that as a game I was playing. It shows you how much I've forgotten that I even bought it this week. But yeah, it's not a killer app or ape. It's not something I would recommend as an upgrade. Nintendo did a weird thing where they gave you the Switch 1 version at the same time as TV. And so you can go play Jamboree as the Switch 1 version, and it's not up-resed, it's not up frame rated at all. Or you can play Mario Party through the TV side of the equation, and then that gets the up resolution and all the frame rate boosts and everything else. But it doesn't have all the features that the full game does if you just play the Switch 1 version. So Nintendo is being weird, as always, and this particular package of software is as weird as they usually are.
Okay. All right. I still haven't bought that one. I'm going to, but
Jamboree is the best Mario Party in years and years and years. But this upgrade, while it has some good mini games, is not as strong as it should have been, frankly.
So the one thing, my issue though, is I really don't have anyone here to play with locally. Does Jamboree have online multiplayer?
It does, and it also has a specific kind of almost knockout mode for Mario Party games. It's really the predecessor of the Mario Kart World knockout mode.
And you can enter matchmaking with that?
Yeah, it's only online. It's only single player local online.
Dude, okay. Yeah. I didn't realize that for some reason. I was still thinking I needed to play it locally, so I'm definitely getting it now.
Jamboree's awesome.
Okay.
Yeah,
Cool.
I'm
Cool. Cool. Cool.
I'm down to play. Yeah, I haven't played Mario Party in a while, and I loved it. Well, I used
Oh,
to
And
love it
man.
at
great
some point.
games, great boards. My favorite Mario Party in probably a generation.
Yeah,
Whoa.
I've heard it's fantastic. It got reviewed really highly. For some reason, my brain wasn't clicking that I could go on and play with other people. So that's awesome. We should get like an SG night, or maybe the three, a bunch of us
Oh,
together and
I'll
play.
play Mario Party with y'all. Absolutely. I love that game.
All right, that'd be fun. All right, cool. All right. Well, I think again, news is not too crazy right now. Just a lot of good games to play, which we touched on. So I think that's going to wrap us up. Luis, I want to thank you for coming on short notice. I'm never good about planning way in advance. Of course, Travis didn't tell us he wasn't here until last week, but thanks for coming on. Thanks for the great commentary and the reviews. Great to have you. We'll definitely have you back in the future, but please shout out whatever you would like to shout out and where people can find you and your channel.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much for having me. It's been such a delight. Hope you're very funny. I had, it's so strange because like I had heard of you because some of you, as you know, some of your takes are quite incendiary on social media. So
I've heard.
I didn't quite know what to make of you, if I'm completely honest. But you're, if you let me say, a very delightful person. So yeah, thanks for having me. Thanks for this conversation. And yeah, I think you can add my Blue Sky, and you will have my link tree there. I'm very bad at saying exactly, the /forward.
You're fine.
Thing. So
your Blue Sky's already there. I'll add your link tree after we get off here.
All right. Yeah, you can find me there. I interview developers. I review games. Sometimes on Season Gaming, sometimes on other places. But yeah, it was great to chat. I think this was the first time in my life I've reviewed about 80 games, and I've done it for 3 years. But it was the first time that I was comparing notes with someone, playing along with someone, with you, Ains, with Wuchang, and it was quite great. Talking about the enemy repetition, or the placing, or the bosses, or the mechanics. It was fun, and I hope that eventually we're able to do that again. And thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I wish, obviously I didn't play it for a review sense, in the sense that push through to finish it. So I'm not, I'm put a lot of time into it, but not as much as you. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. It's always fun doing that. I think in those moments I've had where you get to review a game. In fact, Travis and I were talking about Grounded 2. Those moments are really fun because you don't have anyone else to talk to about it, right? No one else other than other reviewers, and it's just a good time. It's a real good time. Awesome. Well, on the SG side of the house, so you can find Luis's Wuchang review up right now. You can find our beginner guide up right now, and then tomorrow the Wheel World review will be up as well if you'd like to check that out. We will also have a video, one of our actual last remaining video from Summer Game Fest coverage, which I know it's been a little while now, but on Blippo Plus. It's this very unique experience, kind of game series type thing that Ray got to talk to the developer about. That'll be going up this week. And then we'll also talk more Grounded 2, talk Grounded 2 this week. And of course, next week when Travis is back. So you can check all that out. Hogue, what you got, man?
Yeah, I had a very busy week this week, I'm happy to say. I don't know if I can keep this up or not, but my goal is to make a video or two on my own channel, and not just Season Gaming and not just Last Stand Media. And I was able to do a Hangouts and Headlines this week about some of the reporting on the Colbert cancellation that I thought was interesting, in the way that that was being reported on, and the various controversies and outrages that are always simmering around the internet. So I had a very enjoyable Hangouts and Headlines this week. And then on Friday of this week, I actually took part of the conversation that we had last week about the payment processors and some of the controversy around getting games off of Steam, which spread to itch.io after the fact that we talked about it last week, and had a video where I talked about the issue with respect to these payment processors stepping in and saying what is and isn't allowed to be sold on video game platforms. Suffice it to say, spoiler alert for that video, I'm not too terribly happy about it. And so it is easy enough for those conversations to get bogged down with what actual content they are removing. At the end of the day, there's no limiting principle for allowing that kind of stuff to happen. So please do pop in, check out the video. I was extraordinarily worried that just because we had to talk about the topics that we did as part of that conversation, that YouTube and the algorithm wouldn't like it so much. And so I asked people to comment on it. I am very happy to say it has proven to be my most popular video in a year or more.
It's done really well.
I'm not happy to say that the topic exists for that purpose, but please do pop in, check out that video. I'm very proud of it, and leave a comment if you would, because every little bit helps, and you kind of constantly have to tell the robot that this is not lame or AI bait or whatever else you want to describe it as.
Yes, agreed. I want to shout out to one of our regular super chatters as well, who usually doesn't even say anything. But shout out to Console Peasant here with the 11.99 euros. Lovely conversation as always. Thank you, my friend. Appreciate that. Always appreciate the support. Yep. Thank you very much. As I always say, it's funny. One thing I forgot to mention jokingly, thank you, Console Peasant, is I don't know if you saw the news this week that SkillUp, who obviously is a very, very well-known reviewer and YouTube channel in the gaming community, has created a gaming site. And Jason Schreier interviewed him, and one of the things his premise was they want to get a gaming site back to kind of what he would consider core gaming journalism without ads or AI. And I'm like, oh, that's an interesting premise. If only I had the audience of SkillUp, you know what I mean? But
you'd have to sell out more than that, Ains. I like a lot of people on YouTube. SkillUp is not one of them.
Fair enough. It's funny, honestly, because I have people I talk to who love him, who consume all his content, who think he does fantastic work. Personally, I'm more aligned with you, Hogue. I have nothing against the guy. He seems super nice.
Not as a person, just as a kind of content maker.
He's been in LA. I've seen him a few times. Alex talked to him this year, but I've never been.
I think that the only thing that I find quite interesting is the fact that they're using, and he's not the first one to do it, to use the no AI, no ads marketing campaign, right? I've seen that being thrown around this year more than ever. And it's like, I mean, you guys have been here for how many years now? Like,
Coming up on 10 years.
Yeah, like I didn't know that was like a selling point, right? But well. What do you know?
Although to be fair, they have no ads, but there are tiers, so it's pretty much a Patreon site, if you will. It's a Patreon kind of disguised as a site. Nothing wrong with that. Again, that is a perfect way to get good coverage and to pay people. So that's just another way to do it. But I do agree, obviously, right? Running SG, I do agree that in general, a lot of the gaming sites out there now have been consolidated under a few major corporations. They are run a certain way, and they are laden with ads and clickbait and nonsense. And it's frustrating as someone who just loves talking video games. You know what I mean? Which was the whole point.
I mean, we joked about it, but that Mario and Peach article was sucked up by the various aggregators and turned into these kind of headlines of "you won't believe what Nintendo said about Mario."
Exactly.
It's like, okay. And then you get all these news bits, and they're so prevalent across so many different outlets that I don't blame anybody for saying, hey, I basically want to make a 21st century Game Pro without advertisements and without fake content. And SkillUp might be just the right person in the right position to do it. He does have that cachet and that audience. My issues with his content are more that he's too reductive in the way that he reviews things, and I don't find it to be terribly useful. But that doesn't make him a bad person, and that doesn't make it something that you shouldn't enjoy if you find that more useful for you. But yeah, I'm hopeful for anybody trying to make more content that I could otherwise take in and enhance my life in some way. I just don't know that it's a great way to build your brand in 2025. So
I think that was the more surprising thing. Yeah. Yeah. But either way, it's cool to see other outlets in the space, in the site space of coverage, going down the route of not falling into the bullshit is what I'll just say. So I do appreciate that. So I wish him the best of luck with it. I'm sure it'll do well. Like we said, he's got a gigantic audience. So thank you as always, community, for hanging out with us today. Appreciate all the interaction. Luis, thank you again for coming on. It's been a great time. Everyone, enjoy your gaming. Enjoy your week of games. We'll be back next week. And then next week, Travis will be back. But after next week, we'll we will be taking a little bit of a break, which we will talk about next week in more detail. So just for summer vacation and some other things. So, but until then, enjoy your week of games, go Bonanza, and we will see you next Sunday. Peace.